grand. Life is in my hands. Love always helps me move forward. Always cultivate before time fades away. Time passes in the blink of an eye. We cannot go back in time. Let's get together and strive forward. Love always helps me move forward. Make my life shine and be the star of life. It's always bright. Love always reminds me to move forward. Time is ticking and slipping away. Love always reminds me to move forward. Winds blow and clouds come and go. Love always reminds me to move forward. Happiness in my hands. Life is so grand. A voice in my heart helps me move forward. Life is no longer stranded. The world is grand. Life is in my hands. Love always helps me move forward. Always cultivate before time fades away. Time passes, blink of an eye. We cannot go back in time. Let's get together, stride forward. Love always helps me move forward. Make my life shine and be the star of life. It's always bright. Love always reminds me to move forward. Time is ticking and slipping away. Love always reminds me to move forward. Winds blow and clouds come and go. Love always reminds me to move forward. Happiness in my hands. Life is so grand. Love always reminds me to move forward. Time passes year after year. Love always reminds me to move forward. Winds blow and clouds come and go. Love always reminds me to move forward. Endless
Hello and welcome to our Super Life Secret Codes online workshop. My name is Ryan Sway, and first I'd like to thank Master Sun for providing us these great tools to improve our lives. I also want to thank our panelists and all the participants from around the world. Super Life Secret Codes teaches us how to take control of life using energy management. The book was written as a life manual, focusing on the two codes of love and gratitude. If used properly, these two codes can help us achieve success in every aspect of our lives. Okay, welcome everyone. And tonight we are reading in the Abundance book. And the topic we're talking about today is setting positive positioning. And also, I want to make an emphasis on, beyond having that positive positioning, we really have to kind of dig deep and push maybe beyond our comfort level. A lot of times we feel like we're doing it. We read the book, we practice Super Life Secret Codes, and we're doing this process, but we may not be getting deep enough and really getting down to the core of, say, or root of a problem. And recently in a different workshop, there was a topic, or there's a Master Son was talking about a situation where someone just had like too much negative energy that, he himself, in conjunction with their efforts, it was really a challenge, and that they just, he's limited as to what he can do, but this person also was trying so hard but just couldn't get everything done. But later, through, more effort and, really digging in, things improved. And so as I was thinking about that topic or that particular part of that lesson, I look in my own life and I think about, yes, I'm very positive, I position myself right, in terms of direction and all of that. But sometimes the day-to-day practice that I do is maybe not enough to allow me to really push deep enough to really, solve all the problems. We maybe get a lot of them, but sometimes we run into a little bit of an obstacle ourselves. So it's really important that we position ourselves well and then we really push ourselves. And tonight, one of the topics is, when you push yourself to a certain point, then changes will happen. And then once changes happen, solutions emerge, and then you change the outcome of your reality. And so I find that's a very powerful concept and lesson. And I feel like for a lot of us, using myself as the example, I may not push myself to that point to really make the change. Human beings, especially in today's world, society, technology, we find ways to cope with things. We can, survival is very broad, and we just can take a problem and say, okay, you know what, I'll just Band-Aid over it, I'll just work through it, it's okay, I'll fix it later. And with stuff like that, sometimes we don't trigger the change that we really need. We trigger a Band-Aid to keep things moving. And this is a problem, I think, for most of us. And that's why sometimes we can't really get down to the very core of things and fix the problem. We get pretty close. And so tonight, the section we're reading, and I think is very powerful. And I hope that everybody who's joining us tonight will also agree and connect with it, and maybe push yourself a little further than you normally have and see what that triggers. I know for myself, doing so has triggered a lot of different changes, even as much as a career change, a few years ago. And that's something that a couple years before that change, if you had asked me, there's no way. So for me, it was a great example of, I was at a level, I really wasn't undoing a lot of things. I got myself to a certain point, but I didn't fix the core of it. And that core was what allowed me to change my career. So I think, for everyone else, if you use that kind of as an example, and then maybe experiment for yourself, that sometimes when you get to the point where you say, okay, this is it, this is all I can do, if you push a little bit more, you might just find that that triggers the thing you needed to make progress that you had never done before. So I'm excited to get into this part of the Abundance book. But before we do that, I'd like to introduce our panelists. We have Amy from Las Vegas, Nevada, and we have Vivian from Walnut, California. So thank you, panelists. And so with that, we'll get reading into the Abundance book. And again, the format is as master son and as student having a dialogue. And I will be reading Master Son's section. So if you hear my voice, you know that's Master Son's words. And if you hear Amy or Vivian, then you know those are the words of the student. Okay? So with that, Vivian, I guess you and I will begin on, is it page 75? Yeah. Okay. And it looks like I start. Secret 2, set positive ambitions. Ambition plays a very important role in the scope of abundance. Ambition is not a bad thing, but many people mistake it as pursuance of fame and fortune. This is like the theory that spiritual practitioners must be free from delusion and away from being materialistic. Being indifferent means to place less emphasis on the byproducts of life, including money and achievements, and learn to cherish things. We need to be very clear that those materials are merely tools to be used in assisting us to uplift our spiritual lives. The ultimate focus should be on the ability to differentiate the truth from the fake and the viral from the real, the virtual from the real. If you're in a dire state of poverty, but practice indifference and a not bothered attitude, then you will end up in big trouble. This is a good example of how a wrong logical concept of life can be devastating.
Now I understand that indifference does not refer to non-pursuance of everything. Ambition does not mean a high level of greed and the excessive want of fame and fortune.
If you interpret indifference as closing off your heart and making no plans for life, this kind of passive attitude will bring you nothing but poverty. Some people doing this even claim they are doing it because of spiritual practices.
Such practice will surely mislead people, and they may think that spiritual practice is equal to having a bad life. No wonder many people shy away from spiritual practice.
That is why, when we do spiritual practice, we learn through experience and we face our lives with a positive attitude and ambition. We can differentiate between the truth from fake and the real from the virtual. This is the right attitude that a spiritual practitioner should adopt. The belief that a spiritual practitioner needs to lead a life of poverty is absolutely wrong.
Being abundant is very simple. The first step is to ask ourselves whether we have positive ambitions. What kind of positive ambitions should we set?
For example, try asking yourself if you are happy with your current state of life. Is your income able to sustain your expenses? Are you willing to trace the root causes of your problems and face them and resolve them? Such ambition to search for opportunities in enhancing yourself is a must-have. The next kind of ambition is one to seek for sources of leaks that affect the balance of energy in you. You need to equip yourself with such ambition to overcome poverty in your life.
I now understand the importance of ambition. It is as critical as the spark plug that triggers the combustion in an engine.
Yes, quite an accurate metaphor. We have seen many successful entrepreneurs, and when they first started, despite being poor and unknown, they were already very clear about what they wanted. Driven by strong ambition, they were able to see things through very clearly and firmly. Hence, they were able to manage their issues very diligently and properly. And every step was made steadily, leading to accelerated achievements in their lives.
From now on, I will no longer envy other people's achievement. They achieve because of their strong ambition, wisdom, and diligence. They started from zero and step by step, persisted until success. What I need to learn from them is to be very clear with all the leaks in my body, mind, and soul, and the areas where I am lacking at, so that I can see my own path of life clearly.
Okay, Vivian, would you like to share?
Yes. Thanks for letting me read this section. As Master Song says here, setting a positive ambition, um, setting positive ambition plays a very important role in the scope of abundance. After learning from Superlife Secret Code System, I've come to understand that having the ambition to face and then recognize our weakness and the ambition to correct them, this is so important. Just like Master Sun emphasized, spiritual cultivation and attending his workshop are required course in our lives. This is from the last week's workshop. I heard, I listened to Master Sun says. And then through Master Sun's teaching, we learn to correct our faulty logic and thought processes. Everything in life ultimately result in either good or bad outcomes, depending on the original thoughts and mindset. Just like following the SOP. If the first step is wrong, the rest will go wrong too. Master Sun guides us in setting up a perfect SOP, starting with the very first step. Recently, I have a story happened at my workplace. Let me share with you. At work, I think we often witness emotional ups and downs caused just simply by people listening to uncomfortable words. One day, after a meeting, I saw a colleague, she was upset, and I spoke with her and to help open up her mind and ask her to share her thoughts. And I encourage her to reflect on the root of the situation and ask her why she views others negatively, but she still remain entangled in blame and then criticize. Okay, it was someone's fault, and then she says something negatively. And I then apply one of the magic tools that I've learned through Superlife Secret System. And I walk her through the cause and the effect of the situation, explaining things clearly. As I did, finally she smiled. She understood. And then she had to figure it out that she misunderstood the other coworker. And then she admitted she jumped to conclusion too fast without thinking the whole thing clearly and thoroughly. And I also share with her, whenever we face a situation, we should first choose not to react emotionally. As long as we calm ourselves down first, we can then process our thoughts and then mentally GPS all possible path. Then everything becomes clear. The most effective way is to ask ourselves why, how, what. And I also reminded her to try mind switching, to feel gratitude even in adversity. This will soften our heart and help us see things more objectively, from a broader perspective rather than a narrow one. If we don't, we might fall into a stubborn mindset that traps us inactively, and feel so grateful to have the opportunity to learn in the Superlife Secret System, so I can share with what I learned here, and I also help her to go through the stubborn mindset, and then she totally understand, wow, this really not someone's fault, actually this her wrong mindset. And then using Master Sun's teaching and the Superlife Secret tools, I was able to have my own clear mindset and also help her shift from being unhappy and then full of complaints to feeling sorry for blaming others. And then she feel happy, and then she says she will be grateful for these things. And then if we always view things through our own bias lens, driven by ego, and then we will only trap ourselves in a dead end, and then blind to our own issues, and then we will end up hurting ourselves, not hurting others. And then speaking of ego, I also remember a story shared by Dr. Pan from Malaysia. She mentioned that before she learned Super Life Secret Code, she had a self-righteous belief that as a doctor, she could solve all her patients' problems. Later, she realized, wow, that the way she handled her patient had created negative karma consequences. And then, very fortunately, after learning Superlife Secret Code system, she applied the steps 1 to 3 and then resolved her own issues, which is her cancer indication returned to normal. And she felt deeply grateful for the abundance from the universe. Through her experience, she came to appreciate how powerful and wonderful Master Sun's teachings are. And she also emphasized the importance of reading Master Sun's books diligently and then putting into efforts to share Super Life Secret Code with traditional Chinese medicine practitioners in mainland China. From all these stories and then experiences, I've learned that we must truly seize this rare opportunity. So we should study hard, set a positive ambition to cultivate well, so we don't waste this precious life. Thank you. This is just my sharing.
Thank you, Vivian, for your sharing. Yeah, as you were talking about, the coworker, and then also you kind of in closing, we have to, set ourselves in a position, for, positive, a positive positioning. And it's really important because when we don't have the right positioning, so many things like you were mentioning, challenges become, like other people's fault, or people are out to get you, and it's very difficult to be grateful in that sense. Earlier today I was in a workshop, and one of our participants has had constant struggle with a business type situation, and the more we talked about it, we realized his positioning was very much off. He kept positioning himself in a place where he has absolutely not enough energy, and specifically money energy and actual like resources in terms of just one person. He needs a team. And so the more we talked about it, the more he realized, yeah, he cannot continue to pitch himself as the money person and the team to do all the work. And once he kind of saw that picture, he realized it's not the person that he's been trying to make a deal with. He keeps kind of complaining about that person. And then when we really got into it, we realized, yeah, the positioning of this, the other person's not going to want to be a part of it because it's incomplete. And as a result, that's why they don't engage. But it's very interesting, during that time with the wrong positioning and not getting the outcome he wanted, a lot of frustration, blaming, and negative energy, kind of like, the coworker you just mentioned. And this is very common. I think all of us do that. And that's the thing. The next section, I think, really digs into it in terms of, we push further and then that change will come. And in the case of, Vivian sharing, that person's positioning changes and then different results happen, and then, you get positive outcomes. And I think that's really the most important point is, we have to have that positioning correct. And then from there, things start to fall into place. And then, like Vivian mentioned, the constant practice daily. And I think that's the other part that's really important. If we don't do the constant practice daily, it's hard for us to push further. We just don't have, the energy or the guidance at that point. So thank you, Vivian, for your reading and sharing. We'll go on to the next section, and Amy and I will be reading from page 78. All right. Okay, and it looks like I start. Secret 3, persistent drive against adversity. When all means are exhausted, changes will be triggered. Once changes have taken place, solutions emerge. Very good. This is a very practical and smart mindset. You need to fully understand your enemy to ensure a win in war. Similarly, if you want to have abundance, you need to fully understand your weaknesses and leaks, work hard to identify your issues, and live as if you have a GPS that leads you towards the direction of abundance. Clarify where you need improvements and breakthroughs. There is a saying, when all means are exhausted, changes will be triggered. Once changes have taken place, solutions emerge. Motivate yourself towards continuous change and improvement.
Yes, instead of just sitting idle, doing nothing, we should act and fight for changes.
Exactly. Many people want to have abundance, and we need to remember when all means are exhausted, changes will be triggered. Once changes have been taken place, solutions emerge. Our ancestors always advise us to be indifferent to fame and fortune, and to be content and happy with life. Still, we need to be aware not to constrain ourselves by this concept. We have vast potential with many possibilities. If we clearly see the role we play in society and we do our best to realize our potential, then it is not difficult to achieve abundance.
It should not be hard, but does that mean it will be wealthy? I will be wealthy too?
The meaning of abundance is beyond wealth. The scope covers not only money and materials, it encompasses all conditions.
That said, a wealthy man who possesses plenty of materials but feels lonely cannot be considered abundant, right?
Correct. A wealthy man, is a wealthy man really an abundant one? If he does not have the nourishment of family love or the accompaniment of sincere and caring friends, even if he possesses wealth in billions, his loneliness and anxiety will create poverty in his life.
These people, in the eyes of others, appear to be abundant, but I believe even he himself does not think so. The amount of wealth to them is already meaningless.
Yes, in their spiritual level, the material aspect has been fulfilled, but the other aspects are seriously deficient. Let me emphasize again, abundance encompasses all aspects of body, mind, and soul, and not just in terms of wealth. In a house with a monthly income of $3,000, and the family is harmonious, warm, and peaceful, and the body, mind, and soul of every member is in good state, do you consider them highly abundant?
To me, this is real abundance.
That is right. Now please turn back and look at yourself. When you detect leaks in your body, mind, and soul, try to trace the root causes of the leaks from your daily life and think about how you can resolve and improve. This way you can prevent leaks, which is your first step towards stopping outflows of positive energy.
I hope to change my bad habits too. The only thing is when I am not careful, I go back to square one.
You should never allow your bad habits to stifle your path towards abundance. You need to have courage to change if you want achievement in life. If you always complain about the various problems at work, yet you remain unchanged at work, and you are scared to move to a new job or scared to change your work environment, you will end up wasting your energy in life.
Yes, it is a waste. Aspiration without action equals to zero.
When all means are exhausted, changes will be triggered. Once changes have taken place, solutions emerge. That is why if you want change, you need to be very diligent. Spend 24 hours a day fighting for a better next second for yourself, and do not complain about your current state. Do not be glued to your favorite 8 p.m. TV drama series, and stop criticizing people because these are all unnecessary wastage. Do not allow your life to be consumed away.
I read from the Super Life Secret Codes book about movies and songs creating negative energy, so I have stopped watching television and listening to radio.
You are being wise. Many people miss the precious time to interact and develop further understanding with their families because they wasted their time watching television. As a result, misunderstandings arise, siblings blame each other, they end up losing the family love, and destroy positive changes in their growth. Which one do you prefer? Spending time only doing one task or accomplishing 5 tasks at a time?
Of course, I shall go for the most effective and efficient option.
Very good. It is important to hold the correct mindset. We need to hold the right cognition and sharp sensitivity to reach out to things that need change. When all means are exhausted, changes will be triggered. Once changes have taken place, solutions emerge. Without this, we will be wasting our life with lots of regrets and imperfections. This is very critical. Please listen clearly.
Yes, I heard it loud and clear. I need to hold a correct cognition and sharp sensitivity. I need to courageously face change and mend all the imperfections in my life.
Yes, modern society is glutted with numerous resources, and many people appreciate this concept of when all means are exhausted, changes will be triggered. Once changes have taken place, solutions emerge. They are also aware that they need to work hard on their enhancements. However, very often during the transformation stage, they tend to forget about the second step and end up being stumped.
What does this mean?
Some people, to enhance themselves, take on many courses and earn certificates or degrees, but don't experience much benefit. Unfortunately, they are fixated on the potential of the knowledge, but do not put their learning into practical use. To be effective, we need to know our positioning before proceeding. Okay, we can pause there. And so this section, as we're reading, I really like this phrase, and I hope everyone can kind of memorize it. I can repeat it again. When all, where is it? I should know it by heart. When all means are exhausted, changes will be triggered. Once changes have taken place, solutions emerge. So how I've kind of incorporated this into my life, like as I mentioned earlier in the introduction, we have to have the positioning, we have to put in the effort, and we have to, along with putting in the effort, we really have to push ourselves to get to the core of things. And I know for a lot of people, it's all about, how they feel, right? Our ego does get involved. We feel like we're doing a lot of work. We come to the workshops, we read every day, we do steps 1, 2, and 3, we write in our journal, we do all the things. So we feel like, hey, if these were the requirements, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever the number is, and I do all 5, then I've done enough. But as Master Sun teaches us, the most important thing is the results of our lives. So in this section, it talks about, do you have like a great life? And if we don't, then we need to make adjustments. And this is the part, I think, the positioning, if off by a little bit, and Vivian had made a great point about like a SOP. If you off, the first step is off, it affects everything, right? And that's kind of the thing here. If we don't get to the bottom of things, right? In this case of if you get down to number 2 and leave number 1 incomplete, starting from 2 and going to however far you need to go, you might be off because you didn't get to the base of number 1. And so that's where it's really important that we have to really push ourselves, sometimes beyond our comfort level. And once we do that, like the saying goes, changes, will surface, and we will then make a change, and then that change will lead us to the right outcome. If we don't push ourselves, if you don't exhaust all means, and you pick the first one or the second one, you pick a spot and say, okay, I'll start from here, and then there's many choices, those many choices can maybe take us into, many wrong paths. And the interesting thing about this is we could take a wrong choice and we can run with it and add to it step by step by step by step for an indefinite amount of time. I'll give you an example. Recently, I've been taking golf lessons, and I've actually been golfing for like 30 years. Not seriously. I've played, at some years I played not at all. In other years, 2 or 3 to 5, 4 times. So not very much, but over a long period of time. So I learned how to golf by myself. And then from there, I just played with other people, watched, and just kind of learned along the way. But I can tell you that for 30 years, I was doing it, but I was not doing it very well. And what was funny is my coach today that I have now looked at how I golfed and just basically said, "You're not golfing, you're gambling. Every time you swing that club, it's like, close your eyes and see if it's going to make contact and it goes where you want, but it's like a 50-50. So he says, "You're gambling, you're not golfing." And he said that to me. I was laughing outside, but wondering, what does that really mean? And then it dawned on me. It is true. I just kind of made it work to the best that I could with the tools that I had. And I had done it for so many years. So that's a great example of how you can start wrong and you can continue wrong forever. If I never got this coach, I would continually be doing things wrong. Well, now that I have this coach, it's really forced me to get down to the basics. And when I say get down to the basic, it's very uncomfortable. All the things that I've done over those 30 years and the habits that I've created, in this case of golf, the swing that I've created, which was a terrible one, but it just looked okay enough that people thought I knew how to play. And I got lucky enough that sometimes I scored okay. But when it really comes down to the kind of skill or the technique and fundamentals of a golfer, I had very terrible form all the way across. And but like I said, because of all the years of just doing it and making it work, and maybe golfing just enough that it didn't matter, that's how it continued. So because of this coach, I really had to dig deep, and many things were uncomfortable. Just holding the club, how I stood next to the ball, everything was uncomfortable, and it was new. And with each practice, I had to dig deeper and deeper to unravel the mess that I had made over these years. So think about that. If you've been doing something wrong for 30 years and one day you decide to go try to fix it, it's not going to fix overnight. You're not going to just go, "Oh, I'm going to fix this," and there you go. You're going to have bad habit after bad habit after bad habit. And you can't fix the end piece of it until you get to the very core of it. And so that kind of goes with the theme of today, your positioning. Like, I've completely repositioned myself when it comes to golf. I've told myself, by hiring this coach, and then I told myself, I'm going to fix everything. And it's going to take time and it's going to take effort. And so along the way, I'm getting lessons and I'm practicing. I just want to share with you guys, even with a great coach and then practicing each day, it's very easy to go back to your bad habits, your old habits. And these old habits will not necessarily come out in a huge presence, but it's a little bit here and a little bit there. And before you know it, these little pieces lead you back to your old bad ways. And how did I know? With golf, it's a little bit easier because I'd get out there and I'd start hitting. And one day, after 2 or 3 good days, I will just not know how to hit the ball at all. Like, I want to go straight, ball goes left. I want to go left, the ball goes right. It really was like foreign. Like, all of a sudden, what is this golf club in my hand? I don't know what to do with it. I don't know how to use it. So then I have to back up a step, a few steps, and I have to practice some of the techniques that the coach taught me to reset. And then after resetting and going back to this new way, things started to fall in place. Now with golf, it's easy to see this, right? And you can video it, and then you have the coach to come tell you. In life, it's not quite the same, but we do have a great coach in Master Sun, And we have all these tools like the Abundance book, Super Life Secret Codes, and all the other books Master Sun has written. And in that case, having all these tools, our video of life is our actual life. How are our relationships with family members, with partners in life, with employees, employers, customers, strangers, friends, all of the above? And then how are we doing with things that we want to do good in, in my case, it could be work stuff, so I look at all these different things, and that's the film or the video or the gauge. If 10 out of 10 things, if 9 are doing good, then we're doing good, 90%, right? If we're out of 10 things and we're only doing 5 or 6 good, then not a great outcome. So we need to make adjustments. When we position ourselves to look and analyze ourselves in this way, that will push us to that point of when we exhaust all means, then a change will come up, present itself, and then we will pick this change and we will adopt it. And then from that change, our results and realities will be different, hopefully in a positive way. But if we don't push ourselves to that point, then we're just like my golfing, I don't want to even call it a career, my golfing experience, let me say. If I didn't get this coach, I could continue this way till I can no longer golf. I could continue for 30 more years, let's say. It seems like people can golf till they're like 80 something now. So 30 some plus years, I could have continued. And I would have never really been a good golfer. I may not, it wasn't my goal in life to be a great golfer, but this for me is a great example of how in real life, if we don't push ourselves, if we don't find the right tools or the right system, we can continue to do something very wrong, but make it okay. So again, golf's not gonna change my life one way or the other, but how I enhance myself or how I adjust myself and how other people receive me is important in my life. So if I'm doing everything like I think it should be done, but everybody around me is receiving it wrong and negative and not, happy with me, then I have to make this adjustment. But how will I know? Because if people yell at me or are mad at me, I just say, nah, it's fine, don't worry about it. Tomorrow will be a better day, and I move on. Just like my golf game, if I have a bad outing, it's like, don't worry about it. You never golf much. You never really learned. This is okay. People even say that you're sort of okay for a guy who never golfs. That, fuels the continue this wrong path mode. And that's sometimes what we do in life, right? Some people will complain about us because we're not the person we're supposed to be, we're not nice, whatever the case is. We create negative energy for them, we create problems. But there's a couple people out there that will compliment us, even if it's fake. We hear that, we think, ooh, what we're doing is okay, let's keep going. Well, sometimes we continue down the wrong path until something major happens. And you'll hear a lot of people who've learned about Super Life Secret Codes, who've adopted it, who decided to take that, make the commitment into Super Life Secret Codes, myself included. We all needed something big in our lives to happen to say, oh, here's a shakeup. I need to do something different. Otherwise, it's not working very well. I'm not comfortable anymore. People around me aren't comfortable anymore. Something to that effect, right? So that's kind of the when all means are exhausted, changes happen or changes occur. Well, we don't all need to wait for that. For instance, if you're wanting to improve your health, you don't need to wait to have a heart attack and then go change things. Master Sun, in another book, talks about when things are good, that's the best time to improve even more. That's a time where you have energy to make improvements, and those improvements will stick. I like to use the kind of parallel that concept with money and investments. When you're poor and you have no money, everyone wants to invest, and some may even invest the very little money they have left. But that little bit of money in the typical investments in the world, not talking about putting $10 in a slot machine and winning the jackpot, talking about investments, it will make smaller returns, and that small amount of money, it will never be able to support a person. Why is it when people have lots of money, the wealthy get richer because they have a lot of money and they invest it at the right time? Not only do they have the money energy, they may also have the success energy, just the magnet to the success and positive energy. So everything they touch, there's a saying, the Midas touch, everything they touch turns into gold. That's an energy thing too. So we have to pay attention, that we don't always wait till there is nothing else before we start to change. Although the saying goes, when all means are exhausted, this happens, we can be even wiser and do things earlier and have better means to be successful. But the most important thing is we have to realize that we have to change. And in order to change and find the right changes that lead us to the solutions, we really have to dig deep. Like my golf game, it wasn't just taking a lesson and making a couple adjustments on top of my bad form and stuff. It was really getting down to step one, to level 0, starting over again. And sometimes that's what it's going to take with us in our lives, but it doesn't mean your whole life. You don't have to dismantle everything, start from 0 and go back up. You just have to get to a level 1 or level 0 and start working on that, and then things will fall into place. So this topic of, when all means are exhausted, changes will occur, is really an important thing, and that we have to keep our eye out for and recognize maybe we haven't pushed ourselves hard enough for that change to come up. Maybe we're one step away. Sometimes people get sick and they see one doctor and they try something and it didn't quite work, or it worked, they did the process, they did the procedure, but let's say it's cancer and it comes back. That's the time that you can't just quit and say, I'm going to die. You then find the other doctor, and then eventually they find a doctor who pushes far enough, shows a different angle, and they can make the change that they need, and then they can be cured. So for us, as we're practicing Super Life Secret Codes every day, as we're reading in the Abundance book, we really have to position ourselves well. We have to push ourselves in that direction, and then we do have to push to the point that a change happens that will create a new result. If we don't get the new result, then we haven't done the other 2 steps properly. And it may be a positioning issue, it may be an effort issue. But if the results aren't happening, then something is wrong and we have to do something about it. So that's, for tonight's topic of the sections we're reading, that's my big takeaway from it. And, I'm experiencing that not only in my life through Super Life Secret Codes and the Abundance book, but also through my life as I'm resetting this golf game of mine. And it's great to have the parallel because I can actually use the same mindset and kind of format from learning to improve my golf as well as improving my life. The difference is I have a coach for golf helping me with that, but I have Master Sun and Super Life Secret Codes for life. And even that mentality of Super Life Secret Codes actually helps with my golf too. So it's kind of all encompassing. And so I'm really grateful to have these tools, and grateful to have the opportunity to read and share. So with that, Amy and I will be jumping to the next section. And sorry, let me get to it. We're page 82.
Okay. So secret 4, set clear positioning with full confidence. What does positioning refer to?
When we talk about abundance, it not only covers materials and wealth, it covers all aspects of life and family. If you can think of a theme and you feel something lacking there, you need to find ways to enhance it. If you want to be clear with your positioning, you need to pay attention to the Chinese saying, the power of three.
The power of three? What kind of concept is this? How is it relate to abundance?
In your life, if you have more than three themes causing you poverty and scarcity consciousness, treat this as an alarm because it could be the beginning of a vicious cycle. These three themes together will keep revolving deep in your heart, pulling you down and making you feel like you are a very poor person.
That is scary. Is that also a form of energy loss?
Yes, we must face this topic in every stage of our life. We need to equip ourselves with a very sharp sense of detection and search, just like a GPS. We need to detect our areas of deficiency. For example, if you are lacking some knowledge in your field of profession, go take up lessons to enhance your professional skills so you can advance in your career and help you attain growth in stages. After your promotion, if you have issues in your social skills, try to look for solutions. So if you do this stage by stage and you uncover new issues, you must tackle them, but at the same time also execute your solutions on previous issues. Finally, you will see the light of abundance.
This is a step-by-step growth, right?
Correct. You need to be responsible with your own life and you need to be the guard for yourself. Nobody can tell you about yourself as you are the clearest with your own progress. This is a very critical mindset. Whether you can leap forward from a challenging point will depend on if you have positioned yourself correctly.
It means be very clear with the direction we're heading to, right?
Yes, look at some people. They sprinted in the first 5 years and then they lost their energy in the subsequent 5 years. If you ask them what happened, they may just tell you nothing much, just fatigue.
Being unclear with direction, not knowing what we need to or what we should do, and blindly attending many lessons are reasons we lose confidence and experience no improvements in life.
So you need to list down every theme, work on changes and growth, and do not take it lightly. Immerse yourself in gratitude every second. Feel that you have achieved growth in every listed theme. Treat your sense of achievement in every stage as the motivation to your next stage, and you will feel your life is very rich and full.
I can feel it. If we treat every stage and experience as an opportunity of growth and learning, we will be very motivated and inspired.
Yes, great comprehension. In your lifetime, leverage on your physical body to do spiritual practice. Express your gratitude every second. Be grateful for the achievements from your hard work in every stage and utilize this as a foundation to feel the joy of striving towards the path of success. From there, strengthen your confidence and stay away from the feeling of poverty. Do you understand?
Understand.
If you still have a feeling of poverty, keep practicing the above concept and chase away the feeling of poverty. You will feel hope when you see yourself progressing, and when you have attained growth in certain objectives, do not delay your timing for action and work very hard. So when your motivation gets stronger, you will notice yourself being very energetic with just 4 hours of sleep. This is a result of a balanced body, mind, and soul that mutually enhances and supports each other.
Ah, now I understand that my body, mind, and soul can interact mutually, and I have to talk to myself every day and send blessings to myself.
Of course, they interact. I always say, no matter what you are doing, you must gather enough confidence in every stage and use this confidence as a foundation and step by step move forward. Otherwise, you get exhausted after a period of time and end up denying the planned route that brings you to the right destination. Okay, we can pause there. Amy, would you like to share?
Yes. So this section versus the previous section Ryan was reading talks about changes of bad habits because change triggers solution. Oftentimes we get stuck in life and we don't know how and what. That is because our energy doesn't change. When we build up, when we supercharge and improve our energy level, we will see that many things will be improving. But most of the time, people's problem is lack of clarity. We want to have a better life, but we don't know how, and we don't know what the problems we have. So oftentimes we look outward for solutions or signs or helps, but in terms of spiritual cultivating, spirituality is within us. So the direction is here. We need to look inward. How do we find our problems? It's from self-reflection. It's from studying 《弟子规》. 《弟子规》is a reference. So we look at the good examples and compare with ourselves to see what are the things that we haven't done and or the things we haven't achieved, and then make adjustments towards it. So I always say this, if we can find flaws or bad habits or problems in us, we should be happy. We should not feel upset or feel self-blame or feel very shameful. We shouldn't. We should be celebrating because that is the beginning of life transformation. As long as we see our problems, we can make adjustments. We can quickly fix ourselves, like what Master Sun keeps teaching us. Change triggers solution. And don't set the positioning of this is who I am, and this is how I'm born with. So therefore, you need to do this for me, and things has to align with my ideas. If we have this kind of mindset, that means we are fixed, then we're not prone to change. So we should be open our heart and welcome changes because the world is constantly changing. And why are we not changing? If we don't, then Master San always says the rocket ship is already flying to the moon and we're still stuck stagnant at the same place. So these days I am so excited and I embrace change. And if anything I can update, I want to immediately update. I am not stuck with one way or another. And this makes me very happy every day because I see um, transformation, I see improvement every single day. So these days, I find many new exciting experience and a new mindset of myself. For example, earlier I went to the gym, and this in the gym there's a classroom, so the instructor and the students, there is one girl, she's right in front of me, and we were doing kind of like what is it called? Body combat. So it's a lot of punching movement. And this lady moves from the left to the right, to the front, to the back. She kind of takes over this huge perimeter. And I noticed that she sometimes, this space is quite large and there's not a lot of students, but she's there, she's right next to me, she's everywhere. And in the past, I would get very, very annoyed because in my mind, I would be thinking, hey, girl, you should stay right there. And we have so much space. Why are you right in my area? But I don't. And I was thinking of today, it's quite interesting. I was thinking of the celebrity Su Qi. She's from Taiwan celebrity. I remember there was a news about there was some kind of event she was in, and there were many female celebrities, and the press was taking pictures of all the big celebrities from different country, and she represents, maybe Taiwan, and there is this Japanese celebrity supermodel. And somehow, I think there were five celebrities, and this Japanese celebrities, she was trying to bully Suchi, and she was trying to use her shoulder and her elbow to kind of push her out of the picture. And so you could see that Suchi, her shoulder was like squished, and she literally was sitting sideways already. And this Japanese celebrity, she really didn't have to do that. She did it on purpose. Everybody could see. She used her elbow trying to block her. And the whole time, people praised Suchi for her wonderful attitude because she did not get mad at all. Her whole time, she had a very, very friendly, smiley face, and she just keep making her a position to kind of avoid the other person and trying to make room. And she did not, like flaunt her face or whatever. So I remember that news and I go, huh, if somebody, Suchi, could do that and she did not get upset with anyone, I can do it too. So when this girl at the gym, she was jumping around, taking over the whole area, I was just smiling. I go, oh, okay. So if you're at my space, I step backward. If you're coming over again, I stepped back. So I did not get annoyed at all. So these are the change I make these days. And I do everything I can to my switch so that I can obtain joy and happiness every second. That's the goal. And recently, my daughter came to me and told me that, Mom, I drove your car out of the garage. I'm so sorry. I scratched your car over the wall. And I ran downstairs. I looked. One side of my car, the frontal corner, was scratched really badly. And I did not get mad at all. I was more concerned with how ruthless and not very mindful of my daughter. So I had this talk with her. And because, driving, we have to be very careful. But I was just thinking afterwards, in the past, if my car gets hit by somebody else or somebody drives my car and did this, I would be so mad. But I changed because why? Getting upset doesn't change the situation. Let's fix the root of the problem, right? So I can do that. So these are the things that what we were talking about, like practice, practice, practice. We cannot keep talking about practice as a kind of like a slogan or tell someone to, hey, you need to fix yourself or you need to practice. But if we don't do it ourselves, we're not going to get good at it. So my switching is a lifelong process because the more we can handle the variable of the the different shape and form of situations, the better we can um, do in life. Life has all kinds of ups and downs, and that's just part of the life equation. So that's given. So how can we handle and melt away? That is the kung fu of life. So I learned from Master Sun to keep updating myself, never get stuck with one way because the universe is keep changing and I need to do it too so I can keep up. And that is my sharing. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy, for sharing. Yeah, so as Amy was talking about, how to react to things, it's again, all of our cultivation, all the work, we really won't know until the moment comes. And in Amy's case, I think it was an A. She got an A on that one, right? Because the old habits would be to be mad and then to kind of combine it. Because I was in the same boat. Like I actually was standing kind of next to my daughter as she pulled out, and you just kind of go through the process and you think about, you know, damage is done, and that in itself is a negative energy. So like over the years of learning Super Life Secret Codes, you can start to put things into pieces together, right? You recognize the damage itself is the negative energy. And what I used to do is take that negative energy and like squeeze it and it breaks into pieces. It gets like worse, right? And then the other person is apologetic. They feel bad. That's negative energy. And then you add all these things together. So there's actually like three sources of this negative energy, and it can really get out of control if we don't manage it. And the sad part is the damage is not going to get changed until we spend energy to fix it. But myself, or in this case, Amy, and say my daughter, that energy can be controlled and managed, right? If we can manage ourselves, we can even help manage someone else's. And that particular evening for both Amy and I think we talked to our daughter, but it wasn't like yelling at her and you're never going to drive again or you're grounded and all kinds of things. It was more just like, hey, take this moment and really think about what happened. And it was interesting having the conversation with my daughter. She actually later had some theories as to why this happened, and she thought maybe because she was supposed to do something else that night, and that event was kind of messy, and she thought maybe by her not going to that event, but then driving the car and bumping the wall, that was like the lesser of potentially what could have happened down the road. And I thought, wow, that was pretty, profound for a 17-year-old girl to think that way. Because most of the times, I'm expecting my daughter to kind of blame something like who parked the car this way to begin with, and it left me in a bad place. But she actually said that in the bigger scheme of things, that this is maybe a good thing, even though it was unfortunate that an accident had to happen, but maybe this was relieving of potential bad situation that could have been much worse. So when she said that to me, I thought, wow, that's really interesting. And these are the types of things I think as we learn Super Life Secret Codes, it does affect other people. So our actions absolutely connect with other people. I can only imagine if I yelled at my daughter and made her feel really bad, and then Amy came in and yelled at her, and we grounded her, and we told her she has to pay for everything. Her whole, not just her night, but like a lot of what she's trying to do would be majorly influenced because of what Amy and I did ourselves. So having Super Life Secret Codes and being able to manage that absolutely affects ourselves, but other people. And this is kind of, to sum everything up, the result of like this little situation in our household, to me, was a great way to gauge whether or not we're improving and making the right adjustments. Because I've seen it happen in other ways, the outcome is very much different. And it doesn't have to be a car accident, it could be anything, something small. But if three people in a household decide to make it a big deal, it can really be a big deal. And the worst part of it is it creates data and it leads to potential habits. So how we react as a parent, how the child reacts to our reaction, and then what data they hold, this could be the beginning of a cycle of bad things. And that's something that we don't want to have happen. And that's where positioning and our effort, much like what Vivian shared about her coworker, these types of things, if we do the right things, we create a path for the next right thing, good result, positive energy. And that really does affect not just ourselves, but the people around us. And if they continue it, then the people around them, and so on and so on. And then that is the step towards making the world a better place, which we all hope, if we can practice and improve ourselves through Super Life Secret Codes, we help others, and then others help others, and so on. So with that, I want to thank Amy for your sharing. I also want to thank Vivian for her reading and sharing, and also want to thank all the participants on Facebook. And last but not least, we want to thank Master Sun for providing us these great tools to improve our lives. Have a great rest of your night in the US and a great rest of your day in Asia. Thank you.
没有骂女儿是好的，你们很棒诶。